What did Kirby Smart just say about Gunnar Stockton and Ryan Puglisi? That's what we're going to talk about in today's video because Kirby had a lot of interesting things to say about both of them during an interview with 92.9 The Game. He also talked a lot about Gunnar Stockton to kick off spring practice with reporters. So a lot to talk about in today's video because we're talking about the quarterbacks, right? So we're going to jump into that in just a second. But first, I want to make sure y'all are heading over to dawgpost.com. We've got a lot of stories over there on the website. You can read about this and a lot more. We've got insider practice notes. We've got recruiting updates. We got a lot going on the website. So make sure you are signing up to our free newsletter to read a lot of the free stories we have over on Dawg Post. Now is the time to sign up because there is so much going on. And of course, there is somewhat of a quarterback battle in Athens right now. You've got Gunnar Stockton, who of course, started the game against Notre Dame, took over against Texas, and he is the expected starter. But backup Ryan Puglisi is an outstanding young quarterback that is going to push Gunnar. There's no doubt about it. Kirby Smart had this to say about the number 2 quarterback in Athens on 92.9 The Game. He said, quote, "He is a competitor. He never flinched during the recruiting process." Of course, if you've been watching this channel for years, if you've been on Dawg Post, you remember the whole Dylan Raiola saga. They wanted to take 2 quarterbacks in that 24 class. Dylan Raiola was on board. Ryan Puglisi was on board. And Dylan Raiola was the 5-star, right? He was one of the best prospects in the country. Ryan Puglisi was this little old mid 4-star, right, from Connecticut. Not a guy that's easily excited about when you've got 5-star gunslinger Dylan Raiola, who's ranked a lot higher than him on the commit list as well. But Ryan Puglisi said, I don't care. I don't care about this kid. I'm better than Dylan Raiola. That was his thinking, right? That was his rationale. He said, I'm going to Georgia no matter what. I want to be the quarterback at Georgia, and I'll beat out Dylan Raiola or whoever's in front of me. That's the mentality that he has, and that's the mentality that Kirby Smart absolutely loves. He said, those have been some of the best guys that we've recruited, the guys that don't care who's coming along with him. He had a passion and energy about Georgia. I've seen his growth and development since he's been here. He went on to talk about how good of an athlete Ryan Puglisi is. And of course, we wrote about all of this over on Dawg Post. We got to know Ryan and his family before he even got an offer from Georgia. We knew he was coming down to throw for the staff. We knew he was going to get an offer from Georgia and Alabama that weekend. Of course, it happened. We were on top of that recruitment. So we got to know what Ryan was all about before most did. But Kirby said he's a really good baseball player. He's got arm talent and size, great high school tape. He really flashed on the scout team. He's made some really good throws on the run. So there's a lot to like about him. But of course, this is still a work in progress, right? He's only been on campus and with the team for 14 months now. And you got to remember, he was out for last spring when he just got there. So, there's still some developing to do. There's still some learning of the offense and the scheme that he's got to get going. He's got the tools. He can sling it. He can run. He is a really good quarterback with his best football still way ahead of him. But there's still a lot that he has to learn. And Kirby talked about that. He said, he does have a long way to go as far as learning exactly what we're asking him to do. The command of the offense, the volume of the offense. He's getting better at all of those things. And if we're talking about a quarterback battle, you've got to remember, this is Gunnar Stockton's 4th year, okay? It's going to take a lot for Ryan Puglisi with, his entering his 2nd season to overtake a guy who's been on the roster for 4 years now, and who has started a big game and did take over and help lead them to an SEC championship, and a guy that the staff already loves, right? They love what Gunnar Stockton brings to the table, and he is a dual threat quarterback like Ryan Puglisi. And I know a lot of people don't believe that after just watching him play against Texas and Notre Dame. A lot of Georgia fans say, God, this kid can't run. He can't make plays with his legs. He's not going to run through SEC opponents the way he did in high school at Raven County, right? Just running through guys, running by guys, just lit up the stat sheet on the ground and with his arm. He's not going to do that. But to say he's not mobile and can't make plays with his legs, that's just wrong, right? Now the staff has to do a good job of putting him in position to make plays with his legs, because he can absolutely do that. He can pick up tough yards on the ground. He's still faster than people realize, but he's not Stetson Bennett fast, right? But the kid can move a little bit, and he can get those tough yards and short yardage downs and across the goal line if they need him to do that. So the staff has to do a good job putting him in position to make plays with his legs, because he can do that. But of course, Kirby went on to talk about Gunnar Stockton as well. He said Gunnar is very different from Carson. He's different from Stetson and Jake and JT. He's his own person. He's got a quiet confidence about him. That's the way Nick Chubb was. You had to pull it out of Nick Chubb. That's the way it is with Gunnar. He is who he is. He listens all the time. He's taking notes, and he's wise, and he's a great kid. He can also play. And I remember a lot of people aren't going to look at it the same way that I did, but covering the game, being up there in the press box during the Sugar Bowl, I'm sitting there watching that whole game, and I'm just thinking they've got to get Gunnar Stockton some help. I thought he was one of the best players on the offense. He made some big-time throws. A lot of those throws were drops, right? He had no help really from his offensive line. There was no running game, inconsistent play from his receivers again. I mean, the guy didn't have any help around him, and there were times when he was getting lit up in the backfield, right? So he needs more help around him for sure, but the kid can sling it, and he knows how to push the ball downfield. He can be accurate. He can make plays with his legs, but he needs a little more help from his offensive line, and that goes for Ryan Puglisi too. Whoever's in there, they need a running game to help them out. They need better protection than what they got last year, at least what Carson and Gunnar got last year, and they need help from the receivers, and I think they're going to get a big step forward in the wide receiver group, so that's going to help Gunnar as well. And then, of course, he was talking about Gunnar at the end of spring practice, or excuse me, the beginning of spring practice. Kirby said, yeah, Gunnar's a tremendous leader, but that's nothing I don't already know. I would be remiss if I said, well, he's done this or that. He's done everything right since he's been here. That's really kind of what he embodies. He's a tough kid that loves football, that loves his teammates. You're not going to get a whole lot of rah-rah out of Gunnar. I feel like that's his role. He earns people's respect by how he works and how he carries himself. He's got a tremendous amount of confidence in his ability. He's got a lot of knowledge of our system, and I think that kind of resonates with the other players. They rally around Gunnar because they have a lot of respect for him. Again, he knows the playbook inside and out right now, and Mike Bobo knows as well as anyone what Gunnar Stockton is capable of, what his strengths are, what he can improve on. But as far as, Ryan Puglisi overtaking Gunnar Stockton, I think people need to kind of, slow, pump the brakes a little bit on that, because there's still 2 years of separation. And that goes a long way. And you've got Kirby Smart saying, hey, we know we have it with Ryan. He's a really talented kid, but, still a work in progress. He still has a long way to go. And again, if you want to play quarterback at the University of Georgia, you don't have to light up the stat sheet. You don't have to have the biggest arm, this crazy NFL arm talent or anything like that. You have to be a competitor. You have to be able to lead. You have to be able to take care of the football, which is something Carson Beck did not do a great job of last year. Making the smart decision, going, with the route that's open, not necessarily one that you want to take, right? If the shot down the field isn't there, you have to be able to take the underneath route and just be smart with the football. Play the quarterback position. That's what it takes. And it takes learning the playbook inside and out to do that. Now, he doesn't want to throw a fresh, quarterback in there in his first or second year. He had to do that with Jacob Eason and Jake Fromm. But Stetson Bennett was, he had some grays going on when he took over. Even in 2020, he wasn't some, young kid out of high school when he took over. He had to show and prove to the staff that he knew what he was doing in Todd Monken's system. JT Daniels had to do the same thing. When he was healthy, he had to show the coaches that he knew what to do, right? It took Carson Beck 4 years, right, for him to finally earn a starting job. And he didn't take over in early 2021 because he still was learning the playbook. They threw Stetson Bennett in there against UAB when JT Daniels was a little banged up after that Clemson game. You remember it, right? But Stetson got the nod because Stetson knew the playbook and he knew what was asked of him to do. And Carson was still young. That was early in his second season, right? So that goes a long way. You have to know what you're doing. And Gunnar does. And he's got the talent. He understands what his job is. He knows how to play the quarterback position. And I know everyone is excited about the backup quarterback. It's one of the more popular players on the team is the backup, right? Especially at a place like Georgia where if you're not playing well, everyone's going to look and say, okay, can the next kid play? Who's the backup? Let's give this kid a shot. And I've been one of the guys who've been hyping up Ryan Puglisi from the very beginning. I know how good he is. He's extremely talented, and I think he is the next man up. And if something were to happen to Gunnar Stockton, I think Georgia's probably in pretty good hands with Ryan Puglisi as long as he continues to learn the playbook and understand his role, take care of the football, and know exactly what he's doing in the Mike Bobo offense. Gunnar Stockton does. I think he's going to have a big year. And of course, you could read all this over on Dawg Post. So Kirby Smart with a lot to say about Ryan Puglisi, talking about his talent, but also saying, hey, the kid's not really ready yet. And then talking about Gunnar Stockton's strengths as well, because I think people are still discrediting Gunnar and what he's able to do. The kid can play. And again, he went up against two of the best defenses in the country last year in Texas and Notre Dame. So with a full offseason, if he can outright win the job, I think he's kind of on his way to doing that. I think Gunnar Stockton should have a really, really good year, but the future is absolutely bright with Ryan Puglisi. Thanks for watching. Hope you learned something. Again, head on over to the website, sign up to our free newsletter, and you can read all about this and more. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the website.